Diabetic ketoacidosis, an acute complication of uncontrolled diabetes, mostly seen in type 1 diabetes, the more severe form, the patient is dependent upon insulin. So we are going to discuss in this short video some of the commonest features of this condition. You are likely to come across such cases in a few years from now when you become doctors in hospital emergency. So your patient is dehydrated, severe dehydration is there. He's breathing heavily and deeply, the so-called Kusumal breathing. Then hyperkalemia, high potassium concentration in the serum, low bicarbonate concentration, and there is sodium depletion in the body. And Rothra test is positive in the urine, indicating presence of ketone bodies, acetoacetic acid, acetone, and beta hydroxybutyrate. So we are going to see the biochemical basis of these changes, why the patient is having these problems. First, why the patient is so severely dehydrated. Type 1 insulin diabetes, little or no insulin because of widespread destruction of the beta pancreatic cells. And the blood glucose level rises in uncontrolled form. It may reach as much as 1000, the cases 1000 milligram deciliter, the cases have been reported. And after the level crosses 180 milligram deciliter, the so-called renal threshold for glucose. So that time, glucose starts excreting in the urine and it is osmotically active, it carries water along with it. So thereby there is enhanced water loss and the patient soon develops dehydration. Why there is Kutsumol breathing, deep and fast breathing. This is linked with low bicarbonate concentration. Let us start from here. These are the ketone bodies. The ketone bodies, acetoacetic acid, beta hydroxybutyric acid. So that means they are capable of donating proton. So proton abundance will be there, lot of protons will be there, and the first line of defense against this increased proton load is bicarbonate buffer. The bicarbonate will combine with proton to give rise to H2CO3, which will of course dissociate into carbon dioxide and water. Here carbon dioxide is important. It stimulates the respiratory center. You must have learned in physiology which centers in hypothalamus are there. So those centers are stimulated and as a result, there is Kusumol breathing. And that also explains why low bicarbonate concentration is there, because bicarbonate is getting consumed in neutralizing the H plus. And this, of course, all of you know, low bicarbonate concentration, that is normally called metabolic acidosis. There is another form also respiratory acidosis, but this is diabetic ketoacidosis is metabolic acidosis. Now we come to the next point, why there is hyperkalemia. Hyperkalemia means high potassium concentration in the blood. All of us know that potassium is the major intracellular cation. It is present in higher concentration within the cell. So this shows a typical cell. We also had seen that there is abundance of H plus. Now H plus will move into the, increased concentration of H plus is there. It will move into the cell and displace the intracellular potassium. Simply stated, इलेक्ट्रोन्यूट्रलिटी मेंटेन होगी, H plus going in and K plus moves out. As a result, K plus potassium concentration in the blood will rise. Hyperkalemia. One more cause I'm going to discuss. All of you know about this, which antipodes potassium and sodium. It moves sodium outside the cell, and antipode mechanism. In exchange, potassium is moved into the cell. This is called sodium-potassium pump. All of you know it very well. So potassium is moved into the cell by the sodium-potassium pump. Now pump है क्या? It's an enzyme. And all of you know that enzyme activity falls whenever there is acidosis. So acidosis, the enzyme will become less effective. As a result, it will not be able to move potassium into the cell. The result, of course, will be that potassium concentration in the bloodstream is going to rise because diminished activity of the sodium potassium pump because of fall in the pH. The potassium is not moving into the cell. It will remain in the blood circulation. So potassium concentration will gradually build up. This is a very serious condition because from physiology you must have learned that hyperkalemia can cause sudden cardiac arrest. But fortunately, insulin, it moves not only glucose into the cell, it also moves potassium into the cell. So this patient, when you start insulin therapy, not only hyperglycemia, but hyperkalemia will also be the patient will be relieved of hyperkalemia also. So that is a positive feature. Now we come to sodium depletion. Why there is sodium depletion? Now you see all these ketone bodies, acetoacetic acid, it will of course, it will be present as acetoacetate. It will dissociate to form acetoacetate. And this one, beta hydroxybutyrate, is going to form beta hydroxybutyrate acid will form beta hydroxybutyrate. And sodium, being the major extracellular cation, is going to bind with acetoacetate, beta hydroxybutyrate to form sodium acetoacetate, and likewise, mainly it is sodium acetoacetate. Now, ketone bodies will be excreted in urine together with sodium. As a result of their complexing with sodium, they will be excreted in form of their sodium complex. So as a result, increased sodium loss into urine will be there. This point is a bit complex. Let me elaborate. ये glomerular है. Glomerular से sodium acetoacetate is getting eliminated. So sodium acetoacetate will be eliminated in the urine. So sodium depletion will be there. But last point, a bit complex, why there is no hyponatremia despite sodium loss? The reason for that is that there is always isotonic loss of sodium. What I mean to say that whenever sodium is excreted, eliminated in the urine, water, equivalent amount of water is also eliminated. So total content of sodium in the body will decrease, but the concentration will not be significantly affected. So we have seen some of the important features and try to say their biochemical basis. I have got another video also on this where you can see greater detail, and in My book also, a clinical case is there uh, related to diabetic ketoacidosis. Those of you for further details can see there. Thank you so much.